Alrighty then. Here we are, boys and girls. And girls and boys. So, welcome to day 3 of a brand new account where something new has come up. It is Tuesday, and on Tuesday there is an event that starts called the Midweek Magic. And it may seem like a midweek Magic game doesn't do much to help move us forward on our collecting cards because sometimes you get these events that have this big line right here that's in the red that says this event is phantom, which means the cards that you are drafting are not added to your collection. That's kind of like more than 50% of the reason why I enjoy draft is because I enjoy getting the cards. Opens up the possibilities of what goes on inside the uh, standard play, right? But what I like about this is number one, we're obviously in a completely different format on this, so it's just more to learn, more fun stuff to do, and that's what I get a kick out of. I like the new possibilities, new interactions so much in this game. But number two, the rewards here are pretty spectacular when you think about it. You're going to grab a uh, gold or better, or I'm sorry, a rare or better card, another rare or better card, and then you're going to grab a mystery cosmetic, which could be a random cosmetic that they sell in the store. To put a value on something like that, the only other thing I can think of that gives you a guaranteed rare or better is when you're looking at these packs. So you can get essentially 200 gems worth of a pack, and then another 200 gems worth of a pack, and then you can go find yourself a rare cosmetic. And cosmetics run anywhere from, even if you look at like the smoke and deals, they run anywhere from 280 to well over 1,000 for certain cosmetic styles. And you can get any of these things. So one way to look at this would be to say the midweek magic, if you can get 3 wins, is for you to get 200, 400 gems, and then something like anywhere between another 250 to 1,000 gems. This is like getting 1,400 gems worth of stuff for free. So that's good. That's real good. Now, I don't have any expertise in this Strixhaven. I was not playing MTGA. In fact, Arena is one of the newer games that I've picked up over the last, over the last pandemic, roughly. But the reason why I wanted to try this was because I wanted to see about drafting just a completely different set, and would I be able to walk in sort of blind, just read the cards. It is a phantom bot draft, which means there's no timer when you're making your picks. You have plenty of time to really kind of look at it at all, see if you understand what the themes are between the different color pairings, see if you can figure out what's going to work in a draft format, because in draft formats things are very, very different than they are in standard format. In standard format, you can load a deck up, a 60 card deck with something like, 8 to 10 different cards that are up 5 mana and above, and you'll be fine. And then you come to this and it's a 40 card deck, and so you're like, oh, okay, well then I should only have 6 or 7 cards maybe that are 5 mana and above, and that would be a horrible draft experience most likely. Chances of you getting run over long before you get an opportunity to draw and cast those kinds of cards is pretty likely. Um, we're not keeping track of our records here. You just have to worry about your wins only. And so one way to look at it would be, what's the fastest deck I can get in order to get the wins just out of the way, because none of these cards are sticking around and none of these cards are going into our requirement. We're really here just for the rewards, just like to quickly sort of gather in those kinds of rewards as fast as possible. This is the deck that I drafted. I had an idea of drafting 3 different colors because our first pick was this black and white card right here. It was just the best pack there was the best character in the pack. A flying with a ward of pay 3 life, 3/3 is, believe it or not, a pretty strong character in this format. Not the strongest, but it was pretty strong. And I thought, like, oh yeah, like I can start from the top and then kind of work my way down. In reality, there was a ton of spells that showed up next, and some of them were instants, some of them were lessons. I didn't want to go down the learn category because I don't know how, I've never done it before, but you kind of create like a sideboard of spells on there. And then when a certain card says learn after it, you get to draw one of those cards that are out. Looking at those cards kind of scared me a little in the sense that they were pretty expensive. You'd be paying something like 3 and 4 mana to make a 2/1. Um, so I get why they exist that way, but it just to me didn't seem like, oh, that's a slam dunk. Yeah, that's what I want to do. It seemed to me like there was a little bit of uh, art to to that. Like, you get the right spell at the right time, but it costs you a lot more mana, so it's going to slow down your board presence and slow down your reaction capability, your ability to cast creatures, all of those things. And none of that to me seemed like a whole mess of fun. So I decided to keep it as simple as I could after getting through all of Pack 1 and drafting a pretty decent amount. And I liked this card. I did this draft with my other account, and I did a white and red deck, and it was pretty good. I think we went 3 and 2, and the guys clearly knew what they were doing. They had a deck that just sung the entire time. We didn't, but we were definitely able to hold our own against some of the jankier stuff that existed that was out there. So this deck started to come together because I was forced to start drafting into green. I felt like maybe I would be like the black pivotal, and then just kind of splash some green, and then we just kept getting less and less black and more green. Not so much because of quality, but just literally because picks didn't have any white cards in them. I think the robots also liked the white cards quite a bit. So I started to look at like what is the synergy of this deck, and this card specifically, the Blood Researcher, popped up, and I read through it and said, okay, when you gain life, you get a +1 counter on the Blood Researcher. So green and black kind of care a little bit about life. And you can start to see some of that stuff. In some of the cards, right? Like the Springmane Servant, you gain 2 life when it enters, which would just hand this a +1/+1 counter just by casting this card. The green-black, I wouldn't call them bombs, but tramply, lifelinky creatures up here are going to have lifelink. So every time these 2 gators attack, we get an opportunity to put +1/+1 counters on our Blood Researcher. Similarly, we can sacrifice creatures and add +1/+1 counters, and that seems to be Black's shtick, right? This spell was pretty solid because it gave lifelink until the end of the turn to a character that doesn't normally have lifelink, and that lifelink was also going to come with 2 +1/+1 counters, which means they stick around. I love +1/+1 counters more than tricks that just give you a +1 on there for like till the end of the turn. Something like this, whenever you cast a copy of an instant or sorcery spell, this creature gets a +1 until the end of the turn. That's okay, and it certainly works well, like because you can. There's what I can imagine in my head. And these are white cards, so I got to reconsider my mana here because I didn't get rid of as many white cards as I thought I was getting rid of. Whenever you cast a spell, Humiliate is good, Fracture is good. So we're gonna need to readjust our mana here, and I'm glad I'm coming back through the deck. But I can imagine a world where my 2/2 is sitting out there, and I'm about to attack. But first, I immediately cast this, which gives it 2 +1/+1 counters and lifelink. So now it's a 4/4. But because I cast a spell, it's now a 5/4 because she also gets the +1. And so a very sneaky way to have 2 mana, take a 2/2 up to a 5/4 for a attack, and really kind of strengthen things out. Seemed like, ooh, that's a good move. Similarly, removing one of their creatures would be a good idea. And then whenever you gain life, each opponent loses a life. This is kind of cool. She's a good blocker for the 2/2s that come in there. You can sacrifice her, and then she'll hand off the 1 power or 2 or 3. I wouldn't necessarily sacrifice her in order to do that, but there are some reasons to sacrifice creatures. They're dead anyway, in a block or something like that. There are some things that you can do. I do believe, though, this is an ability that's going to work. Well, it may not work at sorcery speed since it doesn't require the tap. So you get in a bad block, you can just get the same effect as the block, but also pass plus X until the end of the turn to another creature that maybe is also in a bad block, but will be able to take out another guy with him. So I need another sneaky sort of way to create a 2-for-1 on there. Um, or yeah, it would be a 2 on our side and a 1 on theirs, but it could be the one that we were really trying to get rid of. So lots of stuff going on in this deck. Since we are going to play the white, and my theory of smoothing out the mana isn't going to play out very, very well, let's come back and take a look at our Thunderous Orator. This card, and this card are the 3 cards that I would like to add back into the deck. A 2/2 for 4 mana is terrible, but it comes with a +1, so you got to look at it more like 4 mana for a 3/3, which is kind of pretty much par for the course from what I can tell. 4 mana 3/3 sacrifice, 4 mana 3/3. This would be a great thing to get rid of and add here. The reason why the Dueling Coach is so good is as a mana sink later in the game, it becomes a permanent board pump where everybody else gets a +1/+1 counter on each creature. So what I do with the Dueling Coach a lot of times is I just bring them in, hand off the +1s to everybody else, and then, those really dirtily slow kind of middle game rounds where everyone's got like board states that sort of cancel each other out and we're all staring at each other. The Dueling Coach, if you don't draw the right card, you draw a mana card and you didn't draw a spell or something that's going to open the board up and give you an opportunity to get in. If you didn't get that, well, Dueling Coach will help you bump your board up. 2 rounds of that. You're not going to be staring at each other anymore, wondering what to do. You're going to have a really clear shot. This creature is another creature that I think I like more than this creature. We have a 4-drop, 4-drop, 4-drop. Would love to put some flying into the equation as well in order to get over the top of some of these types of things. Like this is a good example. This wall is an 0/4 for 1, allows you to mill a card. I would never really do that. Why would I tap my wall? That's crazy. But as an 0/4, man, I can stop a lot of ground attacks. There is very little. I mean, this is a 4 mana 3/3, right? So for 1 mana, we can put a blocker up that really stops that. It's hard for me to imagine not wanting that. The Thunderous Orator is another creature card that basically says whatever these dark texts right here that says menace or trample or lifelink or let's see, what other ones do we have roaming around in here? Maybe not as many as I was hoping for. Reach, that's not that exciting. You know what? He's not as good of a character as I thought. When I did the red and white deck, almost every card had something that was on it, whether it was double strike, a lot of double striking going on. There was also a lot of first striking going on in that deck. And it just, to me, seemed kind of crazy not to go after a card that could pick up all of those things. And when he attacked, he's still a 2/2, but he's a double striking, death touching, vigilant, menacing 2/2. And that becomes a completely different story. Very difficult to deal with, especially when it comes out of left field. And then finally, the Star Pupil was an interesting ramp kind of card. And you're not really ramping anything except your board state on this one. For 1 mana, you're getting a +1/+1 counter that when this guy dies is going to be handed off to someone else. So, you can dump some of these things, like the +1/+1 counters from this spell, into a character like this, immediately take 1, 2, 3 total mana, right? 1, 2, 3. And suddenly you've got a 3/3 that can compete and trade off with somebody's 4 mana creature. The other thing that happens is now he trades, right? And so you take out their 4 mana versus your 3 across 2 turns. So you got to feel pretty good about what's going on. And then now that that's done, he's going to hand all of those +1/+1 counters off to someone else, right? And so that's what characters like this are going to be there for. These guys can catch the +1/+1 counters as they disappear and then fly them over the top. Other thing would be to put the +1/+1 counters on your own 3/3s so that they can trade out with the 4 mana creatures, and you can get them extra lifelink on stuff like that. I do like this card, and we are a little light on the creature side of things, so it would make sense if we're going to have white to come back to this type of card. Humiliate puts +1/+1 counters and gets them to um, lose a card. There was kind of a pilfering sort of mechanic in the deck that would let you sort of take a card out of their hand. Um, if this didn't have the +1/+1 counter, this would be an easy cut. But because it does, I kind of like this. Um, I just talked a little bit about why I think that that creature could be really good, and this is just a solid removal spell. This is also a nice one color removal spell because it deals 5 damage to a target creature that's flying or destroy a target. But not every game is going to have flying creatures that we are ready to do damage to. And if that's the case, this Tangle Traps are going to be a little bit more situational in their usage than what we would want in our deck. We could get rid of the wall, but now that I'm looking at everything, I'm seeing that the wall would really give us time. And time is how we're going to be able to cast all of these +1/+1 counters onto our creatures. And time is how our dueling coach is really going to shine. So what white wants is time in order to sort of like snowball up into a bigger effect. What green and black want is lifelink in order to sort of like take the damage, don't lose the creatures, have the creatures go gain you life, watch the creatures go back up. Damage is now negated by the life gain, and the creatures are stronger than their creatures. That's sort of the mechanism that I'm seeing inside the green and black, lifelinky payoff that gets involved. This go blank sort of holds hands with humiliate over here in getting cards out of the other side's hands. This puts cards into our hand. So I do think that it is devastating in this format to not have at least 1 or 2 cards hanging around that allow you to react. I kind of like this card too as sort of a, it costs 2 mana and you would sacrifice a creature. And if we're sacrificing our star pupil, even better, because then we can toss the +1/+1 counters directly onto a big old body like this. So for 2 mana, we can sneak attack out a 5/4 and really go ham with it. So I kind of like the Bayou Groff. If we didn't end up having a 2/2 that we felt comfortable that there would be a positive gain for sacrificing, let's say the Scurrid Colony was our plan, but suddenly we got to 8 or more lands, and we're like, oh no. The Bayou Groff would then just be a mana sink, and we would cast it for 5 total mana, right? With only one of them having a mandatory color of green. And so 5/4 for 5 mana sounds pretty good, to be honest, because for 4 mana, you're only stuck in the 3/3 sort of category and hoping to grow. So there's a lot of synergy that happens there with the Bayou Groff. I like them. This one's a big one. It's a +3/3 essentially, but only 2/2 of it sticking around. I could go without that. I'm definitely not trying to lose a creature card. I want to keep my creature count as high as I possibly can. So something's got to give, right? Defense, offense. That's what we're looking at. We're either going to lose one of our big offensive plays or we're going to lose one of our big defensive plays that's out there. We are already running 17 lands right now, and we're into 2.5. So the other theory is keep it as is and go 16. And I think that's going to be the play. Let's add in some white land here. Let's go with... Let's go with some water planes. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total white cards out of 40 that are there. The other way you can do that is it says 7 over here. So about a third of our cards are going to require white on there, and we have out of 16 lands, a third of that would be 5 that's in there, and we have, let's see, a dual land here, so that's 1 plus 4 of these, so that's 4. So we're just a little under a third, and we're just a little under a third as far as necessary is concerned. The only reason why I'm completely fine with some of that, well, we need a lot of black, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the first 2 turns. We need to make sure the black hits, right? So this cheating to the swamp side is good. But there's a lot more down here that's green and white that's kind of even. So I think we're going to even the odds a little bit. Okay. As far as black is concerned, we've got black on both of our dual lands that we picked up, and we've got the 6 black. We're cheating up a black, right? So 1, 2 plus 6 is 8 total. So that's over 50% of our mana cost, and we're at about 58% of our mana up here. So pretty solid as far as like the split on black is concerned. Green is 4, 5 total resources, and we're at 46%. So that's why I was hesitating on lowering the green just to go after the white. It's possible that we end up getting too many whites, and I'm still feeling that way. I still think that, like, if I had to cheat, I would be fine staring at a star pupil for 1 turn, not being able to cast it, but I wouldn't be fine staring at all of these cards and not being able to cast 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, I mean, it's close. It's really close. But this is our deck, I think. We have 14 creatures. We are predominantly black and green on this deck. So I think we'll be okay. Let's go. All we're trying to do is sneak out a win. I like this deck being a little bit lower to the ground than the other one that I played on the other side of things. And I like the idea of Life Gain being kind of the main feature in our deck. We didn't draw the white source, so Humiliate is going to sit on the sidelines, but we do have a green, and there are no creatures that we would be casting. So essentially, we would throw our wall up, we would go for 2 more, and then we would hope our Springmane Servine would get in there. I think as far as 2 mana hands go with 2 cards that we're not ready to play, this is still keepable. So that's what I'm going to do. We're going to start with our green, and we're going to start with our wall. And check out their amazing looking skins. Super fun. Okay, so we didn't pick up our mana, which is unfortunate. There's no reason for us to go ham here, except we could do this. Let's do it. Yeah, sacrifice a creature. And now we have a 5/4 out there with 2 mana. I didn't think about the wall being so good. And we will just attack, I think. Alright. Now, we're still looking for that mana, right? Especially because I'd love to throw the Humiliate out on the early side of things. Okay, more interaction cards. Let's just go like this. We'll just toss that on there since we're still mana locked, unfortunately. And we got ourselves a lifelinker, Bayou Griff. And oh, so close. The spell costs 2 less to cast if it targets a creature, but the target creature in its owner's library is second from the top. So we're getting her back. But unfortunately, there's not much we can get going there. I definitely want to get the Blood Researcher out before the Servant. And we can't be blocked by 1, so should they choose to attack, we've got a free look on the way back in, which is great. I'm probably not sacrificing anything to get that guy out, but I do like the idea of gaining some life on the early side, putting the +1 counter on that, and just sneaking in that extra damage. So gaining 2 life triggers that, and we're attacking with Menace, and we're good to go. So we're still winning. You know, we're still at 20 life. He's got all these beautiful mages. He's going to keep 2 of them back. Not. Okay. Doesn't make a lot of sense to necessarily sacrifice the Servine when we could do the play here I think we're just going to do the play here. We've got the free attack, and we can really get in quite a bit of damage, as well as replace back quite a bit that's out there. We're going to all attack. I would rather run the trade than to continue to have the Servine sit there. And we're threatening lethal now. So, well, we're not threatening lethal, but we're getting closer to threatening lethal. My man. Didn't like being at 6, but I get it. I totally get it. So the theory would be that that would be the game winner right there. Having Menace on a 4/4 is kind of better. And unfortunately, we're stuck. So come at us, bro. He's going to put another pause on me. Okay. All right. We didn't get our white card ever. We didn't get our mana kind of messed us up. We never got enough, so going with 16 lands turned out to be a problem. And not being able to cast things like Humiliate and Coach sort of left us in a situation where they just had a free look, and they just out-controlled us on that hand. We had a really, really fast start. I think that in most cases, starting with a 5/4 out there and being able to get like a hit or two in is usually enough to sort of put the opponent on their back foot. But when we go through 2 turns of not being able to do anything, it's pretty much over at that point. We did draw 3 of our total 6 white cards in the deck, but we happened to also draw a white mana, and so we're going to go and start putting some things out there. The nice part about this, though, is that it affects the board, like all the way across the board. So we can continue. We can continue to drop some players on the board early as we get through turn 1 and turn 2. I would love a green card so that I could open up this side of the hand here. But again, mana on a 3-color deck is going to be a problem. We're in pain. Nothing we can do. Now, any mana would give us the opportunity to put the Dueling Coach out there, but a green mana would make life so much better. Okay, we got what we were looking for. Situations like this, we're probably looking to just attack with the 1/1. And the reason is because we've got the play to kind of bring it up. We could also plop this guy out in there, which would give us the opportunity to sort of boost like our Silver Quill Apprentice up to a 3/3. But I prefer the trick first, and that's it, right? So if we do this, and we click next, I want to see if we're just going to like boost up our guy. He's going to look at it and think he's just boosting up his guy, right? There's a little test to see if you're checking out your cards. He doesn't have any mana, so I don't really care if he's checking out his cards. We'll big play this. That will toss that over there, make this bigger, and booyah shaka laka. So we got the +1/+1 counter added to the pupil, and we got the chance to use the removal kind of spell that's on there. I could definitely cast the Dueling Coach, grab the extra damage, and put the guy out there, but I'd love to see what the heck is going on here. And we might as well boost our attack this way while we can see what the heck's going on. So his bomb is a flying 4/2. He's got another bird. He's got Defend the Campus, which will destroy our strongest thing, which I would probably hate. And then this guy is just built for beef, man. 5 mana, 5 mana. We can't really stop some of this stuff. But what we can do is we can prevent him from really getting a chance to come after us on that side of things. And then nobody's got any lifelink on here, right? So we'll just click next, and all attack. And increase our board state just a little bit. So he's got 3 mana, and we know all of these threats live in the 4 to 5 mana zone, right? So I'm expecting a Combat Professor to come out, which is a 2/3 flyer. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, a target creature gets +1 in Being's Vision. So it kind of hands out quite a bit of stuff, right? This is another one of these, like, gives you a +1/+1, you know, 2 +1/+1s, and they gain life. And that's going to affect something else as well. So in situations like this, the Silver Quill Apprentice will hand over a 1/1, and that would give Dina just enough to get sacrificed to kill. Would like to save Dina's life a little, but I think I can with our trick. So since we're holding the trick in the back pocket, he's going to go there. The 2 +1s don't exist because it's at sorcery speed. I would lose both creatures, but I would take out his Fuming Energy. I don't think that that's worth it. The reason I wanted to do that was because I knew the Dueling Coach was going to have another target to be able to put +1/+1 counters, making that spell worth a lot more than where it's at. It's a 5 mana spell, unfortunately. I think it's time for us to save no blocks and let that go through. I know he's got Vigilance, but losing a creature at that point doesn't do us much good. If I toss this onto this guy and I solo attack, if I do it that way, just as an argument, he will double block and I will 2-for-1 it. But what's best about the Star Pupil is they hand off the +1/+1s, right? And so by doing it this way, I'm definitely opening myself up to a double block, but I'm getting a 2-for-1, and then I'm handing 6 poison counters off to someone like Dina, who's already got a pretty good block along the way. The other option, where I just gain back a bunch of life, Dina costs them some life, and we toss out our board state, and we're out of cards. But we're out of cards in a good way. We're out of cards in a way where they're on the board versus stuck in our hand. He's going kind of very slow on that side, and I'm just going to keep tossing my Star Pupil up there and pumping my board as I'm sort of making the next big threat happen. Telling you, this card is deceivingly good. Deceivingly good as a place to catch all those +1s. That's fine. Alright. My turn. Let's activate it. Toss +1s. Click next. Go here and attack as a solo. I knew that was coming at some point. I would much rather get rid of the 5/3, right? Even though I'm definitely going to be sacrificing out some of these counters. That is just so good. I think we put him on Dina. What do you think? Yeah. So, you know, 1 mana, deleted his 3rd creature card, maybe 4th even, as far as like what he was able to accomplish. We got a ton of value out of our Star Pupil. Just ridiculous. That's fine. I mean, he's using all of his mana to cast individual creature cards. That's not going to work. Mana Sink is going to help that. Let's just keep going. We keep eating his mana usage up in order to survive. He just keeps having to do this. And eventually, we're going to find an opportunity to all attack. I could have attacked with the Reckless Amplimancer there because we would have been 2 extra damage. So I did make a mistake on that one for sure on there. Um, Unfortunately, Dina is running a risk for us. He needs a removal spell in order to accomplish this, and he may not have it, and he may be recognizing that he needs 6 or 7 mana to accomplish what he's trying to do. I would rather not do the dueling coach on this one and get 4 mana across the finish line. Artifact, enchantment, or planeswalker doesn't exist. Okay, let's see who he goes after. He has to go after Dina. That's okay. We'll click next. To get it very, very low. So we got a chance to use the doubling effect, which was nice. It got us up quite a bit into 6 total mana hit. And because he's casting his all mana stuff, we know that we won the game. So that just doesn't give him a chance to go anywhere. And that's the theory of the deck, right? Is we used our life gain to make sure that we weren't in any trouble. Oh my goodness, we forgot to do one more thing too. We'll get to that though. We're going to claim our prize. This is our rare card, and this is the whole reason why we wanted to get in there and do this. And we got a Visionary Stitcher, a zombie Stitcher, huh? We played against a zombie deck yesterday on my other account, and it was really good. I tried to slap together a zombie deck, and it didn't work out too well. Zombies you control have flying. Sacrifice another non-token creature to create an XX zombie where X is the sacrifice creature's toughness. I have an idea. So Geralf works really well with a card. I think it's called the Dire something, and it's a 5 mana, 1 damage, 13 toughness zombie creature that would hit the deck and just become what feels like an impenetrable wall. What would be neat is you cast that thing for the 5 mana while Geralf is sitting out here, and it's now a flying wall. Not bad. And then you cobble this thing together with 1 more blue mana to turn it into a 13 flying wall. not a wall anymore, a flying destruction. Geralf, the Visionary Stitcher, I'm already starting to see it. And I kind of dig it. I kind of dig it a lot. Now, unfortunately, I don't think I've got zombies in our hand. And if we go to our decks, just to kind of look at our collection here real quick and type in the word zombie, what we'll find is there's probably not the kind of zombie selection that we would hope for. A zombie bear, a rot priest, which is a zombie, which would give us the chance to at least maybe flesh out a deck, but we would really need to stay in the blue-black category to cast these zombie kinds of stuff. This is a great zombie. This is a good zombie. I'm out of good zombies. Never even seen this one, but he's funny looking. So, a good addition would be a better addition on the other side. This was what I was saying we messed up on. Attack with 30 creatures. We clearly attacked with 20 creatures just in the 2 matches that we did. But I wanted to see if I could turn this into 750 gold. And so we didn't. But we have blue or green spells in here, and it's going to take almost nothing. So we didn't really lose, quote unquote, lose anything. We are getting very close on our next win. We should be able to accomplish getting pretty much to our pack think we get like 250 experience for the first 3 or 4 wins every day. At the very least, when we accomplish this, we'll be able to get our next pack. So we've got a pack waiting for us. We've got 500 gold plus 1 more win would give us enough gold to do another jump in that's on there. And we still have our midweek magic to accomplish over here as well. So it may seem like things don't move very quickly in Magic, but they kind of do if you know if you're putting your time and effort and attention into things that actually acquire cards. And that's certainly the point of this stream, is to kind of show you how to take a brand new account and experience the things like limited play on an event, limited play on jump-ins, and then to try to look at like what is, constructed play look like when we've got all of our cards that we've collected. How are we going to climb the ladder in the ranked situation in order to earn those types of rewards that we get at the end? Our goal here is to be able to get at least through the entire gold ladder, but we should probably be able to even scare like up to diamond and mythic without any major concern. I hate this hand. We can do something at turn 3. And we can do something at turn 5. We cannot do anything unless we draw the right mana, and if we cannot just bank on the right mana. So we are taking a mulligan. This is not better. We don't have any white, and that's way out down the road. But we're going to have to accept the fact that maybe we draw white mana and we can destroy a threat that gets out there. I think they were going to lose this one. I mean, the good news is that's a defender. He's not going to attack us. So we're okay. Not a defender. Okay, we've just done nothing but draw land, no creatures. We don't have the mana to cast our destroy spell, but this isn't something that we could destroy anyway. Unfortunately, this happens in these kinds of formats. Hey, we finally can cast a creature. Amazing. We'll click next. These are sorcery speed, so we're not going to accomplish anything by tossing him on there. He's going to get another free attack, but on the positive side, just kidding. We're getting bounced. Well, that would be great if we had a white mana, but we do not, so... I don't feel like casting spells on that just necessarily. I'd rather just take the damage, throw it in there, get the lifelink, and bring it back. Am I okay with that? And we're toast. Right. Oh, we got a card. A single solitary card. This is more out of frustration than anything. I don't see any hope for us surviving the next attack. So, yeah. Unfortunately, we're just trying to minimize the amount of damage that we're doing, we're getting done to us, and hoping to maybe. I mean, this is a creature, not an artifact. Not an artifact. I think this card needs to probably go, right? It doesn't make sense. We got 11 damage coming our way, and we're threatening 1, and this is what happens when you just you're really far behind, right? Like, there's nothing we can do. The best I could do would be this, draw 2 cards in hopes that we could play something like this, but we're not surviving the next attack, so we're gonna just concede. It's sad, but true. We drew nothing but mana, and none of it allowed us to cast any of our cards in a timely manner. And that's kind of the nature of the game, right? If you don't get your stuff out in a sort of cadence, that matches your opponent, then your opponent's just going to be able to overwhelm you. In this case, they were able to overwhelm us with value on 4 mana and cast a bunch of cards that gave them 4 and 5 different, size creatures, and we just didn't. We didn't have that built into our deck. We have a white mana, and everything that we drew matches the black and white mana necessary. So this is about as good as we possibly could want. And I love the idea of starting with a Star Pupil on turn 2, unfortunately, since it's tapped, and then tossing in an Essence Infusion on turn 3 as he's about to attack. It's a little slower of a hand than I'd like, but we're keeping it. And the only reason it's slow is because we have a tap land and a a 1-star kind of thing. Let's go. We can't cast this yet. We don't have the mana for it. It kind of dictates our strategy. And it does seem to me like blue-red was the way to go, right? We definitely need a creature out before Humiliate becomes something important. It certainly helped us last time to derail the other teammate and put them in a bit of a mana crunch. Oh, are you serious? Gonna remove that? Or he's just reading it? Yeah, no. Okay. Right here, right now. I'm putting the offer out. I have 3 total mana, and everything that I've got requires 2 that I could play. Which would I rather have? Take him down a card and sneak a peek at what's coming my way, or put something on the board, get the lifelink and +2/2s and make this Star Pupil into a threat. But the problem I have with doing that right now is if he dies, I don't have a place to stick his counters, which is kind of his whole appeal. So I think I'd much rather look at the deck, put a +1 on the Star Pupil instead of 2 +1s, and still end up feeling pretty solid. We won't have the life. Oh, come on! Crush you on my time. Oh, whatever. That was just 1 card. He's probably mana locked too, and he knows that I'm about to take his stuff and hold him back. Can't take the land, but you can take the card that he's trying to cast. So, what else did I get here? Boy, they are loving them some zombies. This is kind of neat, though. When it exploits a creature, destroy a target planeswalker. At the beginning of your upkeep, Graph deals 1 damage to you. So, an excellent removal, board presence, and then sacrifice target, which is everything that zombies want. I didn't even know this card existed, and I kind of dig it. The zombie deck is coming together. Alright, so we got a bit of a buy on our second match. So we're running about 500, and Dogslobber is going to come in here and either say we're going to be positive or negative. The only reason I like this hand is because of the mana spread that's on there. We're going to throw a tap land first. We don't have a 1 mana play that's on here, and it makes a lot of sense to, if you're going to throw the tap land out, just get it out now. Nice. We are running into pretty solid teammate so far. I don't have a way to stop that. So we're going to throw our 1 body that we can get out there to stop the 2/2. He'll cast a spell. He'll put that up either on himself or on the 2/2. I wouldn't try to block 2 damage. Yeah, we see you. Okay. So I could cast my Serval, which would create a 3/2 nice trade for the Silver Quill Apprentice and do a good job of blocking that. I'd gain 2 life, which would take a life away because of what Dina can do. And there you go. The other option would be toss a this is a good chance for us to toss a slow land, by the way, too, because, well, no, that's only if we cast this. If we do it this way, we'll definitely be able to get a 2/2 with an extra counter on it and make her lethal enough to stop a block. But she's our only board presence at that case, and I am not a big fan of that. So we're going to go here and we're going to go here in hopes that we can trigger her capability, right? And then we might as well attack because she can't block the flyer. And the Silver Quill Apprentice, even after a spell, would just trade with the Springmane Servine. And I'm fine with that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, we could drop our 4-mana Lifelinker Body onto the deck, which is good. And this is a slow land, unfortunately, which means like our Dueling Coach would be sitting behind, and so would our Humiliate. I do like Humiliate on the next turn, but I don't like the idea of... do I like the idea of this? Let's say I go with this, and she boosts up. It would either be a removal off the board, and I could throw the slow land out there, and then on the next turn, I'd have 1 extra land. That would be a total of 6. This would be 4, and this would be 5. So it would be the Moldering Karak next time. I kind of like that play better. Let's do it. It's an instant spell. Let's go. I'll take the removal. And I will toss the slow land, I think, right? Yeah. Quick end turn. Yeah, there's nothing I can do to stop that. So he's hitting for 4, I'm hitting for 5, but he's got one hell of a head start. And okay, having board presence isn't going to do us any good. Exile target artifact, creature, or enchantment. So this is a removal. That player may put a permanent card from their hand onto the battlefield. I dig that. So we're getting rid of that. Unfortunately, that's about as far as I can go there, and we're going to need that lifelink body now. Okay. Good things are happening. We can afford the next hit. And if they dual attack, my sneaky play is going to be to sacrifice Dina and toss her stuff onto the Moldering Karak in order to gain more life back than what they're about to take. Right, never mind. Good game. So the idea would have been like to sacrifice her and stick it onto him. Like it would have been fun. And we would the other way around though. We would have done it, and that would have worked different. But I just think that the guy's deck was better than mine. It was more uniformed in what it accomplished, and it did a better job of handling what I had put on the board. He was down earlier on the curve. He was using flying in order to get over the top. There was just a lot that went in his direction. Fracture's good as a second card if we need it, and unfortunately we're going to require a green to cast anything else. So hopefully we get either a green or a black land. We're going to throw our pupil out here for right now. I feel like the card advantage is just worth so much. So top end is scary. You got to watch when he gets to 7. At 4, he's got a 2/1 flyer. He's at 2, and at 5, he's got um, essentially a bounce spell, which isn't any good. So the theory is, are we taking his 4? When it enters the battlefield, you put one target instant card from your graveyard to the top of the library, or this major spell. I think we just probably take this thing, because I think we can kill him before then. We just keep him off the board. Like, we know he can't affect the board right now. You know what I mean? So we're in a good spot. We don't have anything to fracture anyway. What did he get, by the way? Draw 2 cards, but a land. Okay. I think we're just doing that. And we're putting that Blood Researcher out onto the board. This would have been his first opportunity to put the 2/1 flyer out, and instead he's still drawing cards and not affecting the board. And this was the reason why I thought it would be a great idea for us to go after that. We can put our 2-mana guy out. We can put our 2-mana guy out, so we can affect the board twice, which is good. And whenever you gain life, but nobody else has a life gain piece to it, so we're just going to go all attack on this. Then we're going to toss, and then we're going to end. I'm hoping to pick up one of my cards that hands out +1/+1 counters, as well as hands out lifelink. What that does will boost 2 players on our board and put us in a much, much better position. We might as well attack with Dina. It's possible that there's a spell trick that's been drawn into that. This is really good. Flying Ward, pay 3 life. Doesn't have a haste or anything like that, so it's just going to hit the deck and eat up all of our mana for the turn. But I'm okay with that. If we go to next and we do attack with all 3, at least 1 damage is sneaking by. We're either trading off Zamone for the Star Pupil, or we're doing that. The other option would be right now, because this thing, you put a land card from your hand, is kind of going to ramp. We could sacrifice another creature and give Dina the 2/2. And I totally dig it. So we're sacrifice this guy, throw it onto Dina. Dina will suddenly easily survive this situation. And then we'll toss our Reckless guy up. And it may not have been the smartest move, because the +1/+1 counters didn't get... I mean, they were going to someone else anyway when they died. But I like the idea of trading out a 1-mana character for a non-1-mana character, right? All right, so we're throwing our mage out there and just seeing, and it just didn't look like we had much else left. So with a flyer and a menacing ground threat, 20-5, we've controlled the board the entire time by removing 1 itty-bitty little card. That's all, right? Good for you. Love it. I absolutely love it. Unfortunately, it's just not enough. GG. All right. Our deck worked. But you can see that the pivotal moment in that game was the decision not to put something on the board, and instead to actually affect his hand and affect every future play that he had. It took him all the way to, what was it, the very last turn before he was able to put any kind of significant wall or threat on the board. That would have been very difficult for us to get through. At that point, though, that's why you want a flyer, right? Like, that's why you want a finisher at the end of your deck at the highest mana police that would be able to jump over the top. That's why we added it back into the deck, and that's why we drafted it in the first place, was the idea that we could imagine getting into a board stall right about here And instead of just kind of like he's cast a character and we eat a character, he casts a character and we eat a character, we had something that would just shoop, go right over the top. So overall, pretty good. Loved the playing around with the +1/+1 creatures to make all these little 3/3s suddenly much, much more than what they look like on paper. Just in general, a kind of a fun deck. I do think that we went 500 on there. And in a draft format, just to point this out, we'll come back and get our reward, don't worry. But let's say that we were in a quick draft, which is the closest thing to what we just did. It's another bot draft where we can take our time, and then we take this deck and we go in and we try to attack. If we did have 750 gems to spend, we could do that. The big gain in this limited quick draft format is that we get to keep every single card that we draft, which would be nice, especially since we're in the acquiring stages of getting cards. And let's say that you play until you get to 3 losses. So if we were to do that, we would have stopped at the 2-win mark. But we would have a pack and 200 gems returned back. So that would have meant that our overall cost was 550 gems for essentially about 43 cards in the set, with a good chance at coming out of here with like 3 to 5 rares as a minimum. Then we start, 3 is a minimum opportunity cost because we get one shot at the brand new pack each one. That's why they show 3 packs, right? You open up your first pack, there's a guaranteed rare or better in that pack. So we get to the first shot at selecting that rare, and the second shot, and then the third shot, for one for each pack. So we could get 3, and then our 4th rare would come in this pack with a bit of a try for a 5th. But then not everybody drafts to acquire, right? A lot of people are in these kinds of formats to draft to win. They try to go more longer, right? Like if you had 2,000 gems and you were spending 550, you'd be able to get through 3 drafts effectively before you wouldn't have enough gems to draft anymore. If you drafted to try to perform well and do better than 500, right? Because 500 means that sometimes you'll get to 3 wins and sometimes you'll get to 4 before the third loss. So you're kind of going to average in between these two, and you're going to end up averaging at about 375 gems, which is about half the cost of this right here. So if you get to something like this, you're spending significantly less gems. You can draft 5 drafts within 2,000 drafts and within 2,000 gems instead of drafting just 3 drafts with 2,000 gems. That extra drafting will give you a shot at more packs and will give you a shot at more rares that you can pull out of those packs. So there's an acquiring mentality that it's my gems and I want it now kind of deal. Or there is the opportunity to say, let's just perform as best as we can and see how much we accumulate at the end, because I'm a good enough drafter and a good enough player in this set to get close to sometimes 5 wins or 6 wins, or what we call a trophy, where you get 2 packs, 950 gems. So you gained 200 gems as well as the opportunity to easily get 5 rares, but you're probably going to walk out of here with 6 or 7 rares, more likely. These are the more fun ones. I've done lots of drafts at this point now. I think I've done about, I say lots, like there are people who do 100 drafts like in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I only have done, I think, a total of 20 across 3 months. But give you an idea why the drafting experience can be very, very profitable in the accumulation phase. And it's definitely the next major step forward after we get through our jump in packs. Let's open up our cosmetic and then let's take a break because we've got to take some kids to school. We got the cosmetic for the All Will Be One. It's a very fun card to use, but it is a very difficult card to use. Essentially, it goes really, really well with things that come in with counters on them. Planeswalker cards are a good example of stuff like that. Migla's Maze Crusher is another good one. All right, that's it. We got a chance to do the midweek magic, and we got a chance to acquire 2 zombie rare cards, which is kind of neat. So maybe a zombie deck is in our future. We got pretty close to this, and so later we will come back and do a jump in and we will see about constructing our deck a little bit more with some of the new things that we gather in, and maybe just to get a few wins under our belt and kind of spin this dial just a little bit more, we'll jump into the ranked ladder and we'll see if our deck that we can put together without using any of our wild cards so far is something that can compete. I'm sure we could use our wild cards, build a red deck that will just fly through the ladder, but it's kind of boring. I kind of want to play this entire account out as if it was a sealed account and that we didn't have wild cards and that we were trying to simply not to rush to the end, but we were going to sort of enjoy the journey. So there you go. Look forward to seeing you later again. Bye-bye.